أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله أوله بلا أول كان قبله وآخره بلا آخر يكون بعده الذي قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين وعجزت عن نعته أوهام الواصفين ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا حبيب إله رب العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعليه الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الدائم على أعدائهم وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكر فضائلهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، قال أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام في وصيته: أوصيك بتقوى الله وإقام الصلاة لوقتها وإيتاء الزكاة عند محلها وأوصيك بمغفرة الذنب وكظم الغيظ وصلة الرحم والحلم عند الجاهل والتفقه في الدين وتثبت في الأمر وتعهد للقرآن وحسن الجوار والأمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر واجتناب الفواحش كلها في كل ما أوصي الله فيه. Wasiyat of Amir al-Mu'mineen, as we said, there are about 10 wasiyat of Hazrat Amir, which is after the 19th. After he was injured, he did about 20 in total. 10 of them which is in regards to his ghusl, regards to where he should be buried, in regards to what he has left behind and what it should be done. For example, a brother was asking last night about what happened to Ibn Muljim after he was arrested. They arrested Ibn Muljim. So there's a wasiyat which he did in regards to Ibn Muljim. For example, Imam was saying that provide him with a drink, don't tie him, don't intimidate him. This all comes under the wasiyat of Hazrat Amir. And the wasiyat of Hazrat Amir was that forgive him, leave him, let him go. And if you want to carry out the Islamic statement or the verdict, give him one blow, the same way as you gave it to me. And if he dies with that, fabiha, well and good, if whatever. If he doesn't, then you just leave him after making that or after passing that verdict of one blow. If he still survives with that, you have nothing to do with him, leave him alone. But having said that, he also says that forgive him. Imam Hassan al-Mushtaba says that we carried out the verdict, and Imam Hassan, he himself carried out that verdict, which he was basically killed and he entered Jahannam. Indeed, Imam says that we would have forgiven him. However, if we would have, then obviously this would have been a sort of like an act or which the ummah would carry on, killing people and being forgiven. So the Imam carried this act with that intent, rather than not to take revenge as such, but it was more to pay respect to the Islamic laws of qisas. So that is also a wasiyat of Hazrat Amir. There are about 20 wasiyat that we find after the night of injury Hazrat Amir have done. Because even in the state of unconsciousness, he was waking up, he was going unconscious because of the effect of the poison. Now this is also, and there are about 10 wasiyat which are which tend to have more of an akhlaqi pahlu, akhlaqi side to it. Which talks about taqwa, which talks about Quran, which talks about salat, which talks about sila raham, so on and so forth. And this one which we are discussing is a very sort of condensed wasiyat, which tends to focus on quite important things. There are other wasiyats as well, wills as well, which are more detailed. So we talked about taqwa, and we said that taqwa is like a string which holds all the good deeds together. all of our amal is held in its place with a string, and that string is taqwa. If the taqwa is not there, God-wariness, God consciousness, the fear of God is not there, our prayers, our fast, nothing will have any value. Inna Allah yataqabbalu Allahu minal muttaqeen. Certainly God accepts from those who are muttaqeen. The Quran will not be the book of guidance if a person is not muttaqi, because it's hudal lil. Right. So therefore, Hazrat Amir, they says that usika bi taqwa Allah, and he clearly mentions that wa'alam ya bunayya, know, O my son, in another wasiyat he says, know, O my son, anna ahabba ma anta akhidun ilayya, I read something that is the most lovable thing that I want you to take from me, from this wasiyat, is taqwallah. Is that God-wariness? Is that God consciousness? If that is there, everything will fall in its place. That is why the Quran also points out to that, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ittaqullah. Oh, people who have brought iman have taqwa as well. So having iman doesn't really mean that a person is muttaqi. He might be having iman, but the possibility that he's not muttaqi exists. So taqwa is that of that way, because it is through taqwa that a person frees himself. As we said, that taqwa is part and parcel of insaniyat, of humanity. If that God-wariness and God consciousness is there, then that young person or old person or a child or whatever, they will be in control. He will cap his shahwat, he will cap his sort of desires with that element of taqwa, that he has, that is something that will hold him. That is something that will protect him. It's like a fort. He sits inside, it's like a fort. We were doing a riwayat, a tradition, which talks about sins and the effect of these sins. Because taqwa, as we said, is refraining from those things which are haram. So when a person commits a sin, there are consequences of it. There is a riwayat from our fourth Imam, Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, where he says that sins that changes the ni'mat, the bounties that God have provided us, this bounties change, taken away. What are those sins? The Imam says, Tark amale khair be an aadat shude, leaving away a good act which has become like an habit for that person. It's a good act to perform it, but he doesn't perform it, and it has reached to the point that it is aadat for him. Giving salams, he enters the masjid, aslan, aadat shude, it's become a habit for him. That's how he is. And some, for example, I tell someone, this man, he comes in the masjid, comes in, sits, he's a nice man, he's good, we talk and speak. He doesn't give salams at all. He begins a conversation, normal, nicely, but there's no salam there, right? So it has become a habit. It's just that amal khair, that kar khair, is not there. Many a times it happens in our chat when we are chatting on the phone. We just start without any salams. That doesn't. There has to alaikum salam. There has to be a salam, and then you can start. It's a kar khair. But if that, so ni'mat will change. If a person leaves away a kar khair and it becomes a habit, then leaving away something that is good, kufran ni'mat, if a person does kufran of ni'mat, then if a person leaves away thanksgiving, if he doesn't give shukr, then the bounties will change. The sin that brings about nadamat, nadb, which is disgrace or embarrassment or sorrow. We said killing something which is haram, for example, to kill is haram, to murder. Cutting relationship with the family members, cutting the kin. Leaving prayers, not praying to the point where the time goes away, the time is lapsed, a person doesn't pray. This will bring about nidamat, this will bring about disgrace, this will bring about embarrassment to him. Man'a zakat, person not giving zakat, charity, till death arrives. A person who doesn't give wasiyat, because wasiyat is wajib, to make wasiyat is wajib. If a person doesn't do that, since that makes the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descend, azab of Allah, khashiyat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number one, the Imam says, not taking advice from those who are recognized individual personalities. For example, scholars, maraje, awliya. If one doesn't listen to their advice and doesn't listen to them, their guidance, if we don't take it, then obviously the azab, the khashiyat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will encompass that person. Arrogance and making fun of others. When a person is arrogant, then the wrath of God will descend. Since that will take away the benefit that God is providing. Pointing out to the need to others. Sleeping at the time of Isha. Sleeping at the time of Fajr. Counting the ni'mat as little. The ni'mat that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided is nothing. For example, complaining to God. Oh God, I have done so much, but why am I facing this? Trials and tributes and, Number 5, those sins that will tears away modesty, ismat, that takes away the ismat, that takes away the modesty. Drinking, gambling, joking unnecessarily, speaking unnecessarily, fault finding, speaking about faults of others, sitting with kuffar and those who have no limits and borders. This will take away the ismat. And everything have a relationship from a psychological point of view. If my friend circle is those who are kafir, oh, bichare, they are kafir, what can we do? They haven't been trained or taught. In many times it's not their fault, but we have to maintain a relationship. It's not that, we are not saying that, you just cut the relationship, you don't speak to them, you turn your face away. No. But in terms of going an extra mile on a Friday night, they are inviting you, to go to a club, so on and so forth, then obviously we have to put our foot down and say, no, we don't engage in that. Or being all the time in their company, doing things together. It's good to do things together, but gradually, one starts to take the color of theirs and their understanding which they have. Then that ismat, that modesty kind of goes away because it affects, the company affects. If a person is, regarding religion as man-made, for example, and he is or she is my friend, for instance, then that affects in a long term, and then I will also think the same way because we've been discussing, we've been together, but at the same time we say that he's a good man, he's a good person, and in terms of very caring for others, charity, makes sense. Kafir doesn't have a shakh dige. Kafir ke shakh na dare. Masalan ko begi shakh dar chikamish hast. Right? So therefore, that modesty is snatched away. If that's why the Quran says that, do not take the kuffar or Nasara as your awliya, as your guardian, as your leader, as your friends, the true sense. Friendship is a very valuable thing. We tend to say, oh, he's my friend, just very sentimentally. He's my friend. What is the meaning of a friend? It's quite, you could say, oh, I know him. That is something else. But if you tell, oh, he's my friend, that is something else. One should be very careful in using these words. But, we call everybody as a friend. Not the case, right? The Quran, when it says, do not take them as awliya. Waliullah, wali is a strong word. Do not take them as awliya. We say Amirul Mu'minin is our wali. We take Amirul Mu'minin as wali. The Quran is saying that do not take Yahud and Nasara as wali. When we have taken Amirul Mu'minin as wali, the Quran is saying that do not take Yahud and Nasara as wali. Now, an Orientalist will come, or a person who doesn't understand the in-depth reality of the word of wali, they'll say, oh, see, these are so unsocial people, Muslims are. The Muslims are saying not to take Christians and Jews as friends. No. Wali, Baba. Friends, if you are saying from that point of view, okay, he is my friend, everybody is my friend. Right? As this Barney says that, you are special and everybody is special. The value of that being special is gone. What special means, it's not there anymore, right? So if you're saying everybody is friend, okay, yes, everybody is friend, regardless. But we are talking about wali, right? Amirul Mu'minin is waliullah, he's our wali. Mu'minin are awliya of each other, a mu'min, right? Mu'minin. So that things which snatches away ismat, modesty, is sitting and being in the company of kuffar, those who have no borders, those who have no limits, in terms of the way they live the way they carry themselves, the way they live their life. Number 6, sins that make bala to descend, calamities to fall. What are those sins? Not attending to the need of needies, not providing aid to those who are in need. It is quite important. Not providing aid or answering to the call of the oppressed ones. And now, brothers and sisters, the most oppressed in this dunya today, what we are seeing, are children, unfortunately. Mazloom, they are really oppressed. Children in Syria, in Pakistan, in India, in everywhere. They are the one who've been oppressed the most. All sorts of oppression. From abuse on the internet, if we talk about in the West, has increased so high. BBC reports the other day that the increase of sexual abuse on the internet have been so big, have been skyrocketed now compared to last year, for example. Children are being abused. But physically, if you look at these, bombings that are taking place, people being killed, children have become valueless. Children are masoom, and humanity will suffer and are suffering. Insaniyat will suffer. If the leaders, if we don't do anything about it, we will suffer a great azab. Look in Palestine, what's happening. Look in Syria, what's happening. Right? In Pakistan, in Afghanistan, Yemen, right? Children are suffering. And no one is really doing anything about it, unfortunately. Yemen, the war is still going on. The Syria is the same. So many children being fumed, being gassed. But still we find that none of the leaders are doing anything about it. No one wants to budge. No one wants to sit and discuss and come up with a solution. But the kids and the children are suffering. So not answering to the call of the oppressed ones, and on the apex of this triangle of these oppressed ones are children. Bala will fall, calamities will come. Friday, the day of Quds. It is a call of the oppressed. We have to say labbaik. We have to answer. We have to express our, demonstrate our, negative, our, not hate, I want to say, but, we have to demonstrate that we are not agreeing with the occupation. We have to express that. We have to answer to that call, right? In a healthy and peaceful way, which was taught to us by late Imam Khomeini, rahmatullah alayhi, that the last Friday of the month of Ramadan is the day of Quds. As Nelson Mandela, I think he has mentioned that humanity is not free until it frees Palestine. Right? We talk about this petition, we talk about that. A gorilla is being killed in the zoo, millions of people sign a petition. Children are being killed in Palestine for ages and ages. Nobody really talks about it. But a gorilla being killed, everybody comes and talks about it. This is the state of our humanity and insaniyat, right? So we really have to answer to this call. We have to demonstrate that we are not with the occupation. We are with those who are mazloom. And we are answerable to God if we don't say labbaik, if we don't do anything about it. It's a wazifa, it's a responsibility of ours. Leaving amar bil maruf wa nahy anil munkar. Number 7, sins that take away wealth and delivers this wealth to the enemies. Openly oppressing, zulm, openly oppressing. Openly sinning. When a person openly sins, his wealth is taken away and it is given to his enemies. Turning away from truth, from haqq. A person turns away from it. Regarding something that is haram as mubah. Who said it is haram? Who heard the Prophet? Oh, all of these hadiths may be changed and so on and so forth, right? Something that is haram, clearly, one says that, well, it is mubah, it is all right, it is okay. Not paying heed to good people's advice. People advise them, people who are good, but they don't pay attention to, they don't take any lesson from. To Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. To accept the oppressors, whatever the oppressor is saying, the zalim, accept. He says that this is how it's supposed to be. One says, okay. One doesn't regret or one doesn't really do any amar bil maruf or nahy anil munkar in any form, right? One accepts it, the opinion of the oppressors. This will take away the wealth and deliver it to the enemies. The 4th Imam says, Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, things that will bring about destruction of him. That is qat rahim, cutting the kin. Lying, lying with an oath, qasam, qasam duruh, for example. Closing the path for Muslims. One is closing the path, in meaning that one is trying to do something, one stops that. One doesn't allow him to get a job, find a job, get a help or whatever. Proclaiming imamat. Somebody proclaims that he is the imam. These are the sins by which he will be destroyed. Qat rahim, he will be destroyed. Proclaiming he will be destroyed. Closing the path for him, he will be destroyed. Number 9, sins that cuts away hope, umid, that takes away hope. Because hope is the essential element of life. Person lives because of his hope, that umid. The child will die if there is no hope. The baby will die if there is no hope. He has that hope in him, which we'll talk about it tomorrow on 23rd, inshallah. Relying on others than God. If a person relies on other than God, that sin, this sin will bring about that naumidi. He will become hopeless. He will become depressed. Regarding God's promise as false. Those promises that God have said that those who do good, they will achieve this, so on and so forth. He regards it as they are all false. Bataएं hai sab, there's nothing true. There's no reality to it. People talk about it. The Quran talk about it. Just because Quran wants you to be good. The Prophet was a reformist. He wants things to put in order. It's not real. It's just false promises. That will take away hope from the man's heart. He will become hopeless. He will become depressed. Sins that make the air polluted, and it will make it dark, whether that be in a manavi sense, as they say that Surah Najm, it talks about the shooting stars. These stars, when they're falling stars, you see them getting, you see the burning star, right? Some of the exegists, they have said that these are the ajinna who are trying to enter the metaphysical realms, and as they try to enter it, they are burnt. They cannot. There's some sort of haraka there. There's some sort of movement there, which doesn't really allow them to enter it, and you see them being burnt. So now, whether this be in the manavi sense, that the faza, that the atmosphere becomes dark, that the atmosphere becomes polluted, by committing these sins. What are they? Magic, fortune telling, omen, fal, as they say, fal zadan, omen. Believing in the stars, astronomy, astrology. Denying destiny, taqdeer, denying that. There's no such thing as that. Troubling the parents. I mean, if you look at every sin that the Imam is talking about, there is some sort of relationship with the physical realm. Like for example, air, we are talking about here stars, fortune telling, right? There's a relationship with that. As we've been mentioning, that there's always a relationship with the physical realm, with the metaphysical realm. The metaphysical realm governs the physical realm, right? Sins that get rid of hijab, veils, sort of hurmat amongst each other, right? Getting a loan without intention of returning it. I got a loan. Before I got a loan, I had the intention, inshallah, or whatever. This will get rid of the hijab that is between me and you. This will create corruption in a way, right? We will have no respect for each other. Once that is teared, then so many things comes about. For example, bad mouthing, blaming, fault finding, so on and so forth. Wastefulness. This will get rid of the hijab and the veil that a person have, that hurmat. Luxury and lavish living. And a person is living in that, doesn't really care, that will get rid of that hijab. Not spending on the family and relatives, being stingy. If a person doesn't do that, there's a social aspect to it. If you look at it, all of it getting rid of that hijab, if a person is stingy, what is this? What type of father he is, that he's not taking care of his own children. So that respect between the children, the family member, and that person who is not performing that hijab is taken away. So if a person doesn't do that, it's very psychological. At the same time, spiritual as well, obviously, right? Bad behavior. If a person behaves in a very bad way, the bad akhlaq. Not being patient. A person is not doing sabr. A long line for iftar, a person pushes one and goes in the front. That takes away the hijab. That respect that is there, it's not there anymore. A long line is, oh my God, look, not being patient, right? Sabr, it's all right. One can be patient. Complaining, what is this? They should have do this or they should do that. Why only 2 khajur Mazhar Bhai is putting in my plate and Azhar Pir Bhai is checking on the Hinduana that he's providing. Complaining, shouting, and not being patient, that takes away the hijab among that person and the others, obviously. Laziness, when a person is lazy. When a person gets annoyed when he faces sorrow or when he becomes sad. Counting the mu'mineen as little. Mu'min has a very high value in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Mu'min is very respectful. That's why the Quran says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. It says, Ya ayyuhal. This term is Ya ayyuhal rasul, Ya ayyuhal nabi, for example. This Ya ayyuhal using is pointing out to like saying Hazrat. As we say Hazrat. Hazrat, that word is used for Hazrat Ala, for example. You say Hazrat and then you take the name. You say, for example, you say Hazrat Mazar Abbas, masalan. You say Hazrat, Hazrat Hur, for example, who is the president of Mu'min. You say Hazrat, right? So he said, Ya ayyuhalladhina, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who have brought Iman, right? So a Mu'min, says Amanu is a Mu'min, right? Those who have brought Iman. So respecting the Mu'min. Mu'min has a very high value. We are all Mu'mineen. We have to respect each other. We were reciting Dua Joshan Kabir, and we will be reciting more. Some people, they have come and complain. Everybody have its own ravish, own sort of philosophy and understanding. They say, oh, they don't recite it properly, it's this way and that way. My understanding is, Musa was going to Kuwatur. There was a man who was calling Kareem Kareem. And Musa said Kareem, it's not Kareem. He forgot Kareem and he forgot Kareem. He stopped taking the name of Allah itself. So Musa goes to the Kuwatur and he says, Musa, what did you do? A Bande Khuda who was attached to me with whatever, with Kareem or Ashadu Anna Muhammad Rasulullah, as the Hazrat Bilal used to recite, right? He was in connection with me, he lost it. Moulana says, Moulana Rumi, or whom, he says, To barai vasl kardam amadim. You've been sent, the Prophet have been sent in order to do the vasl, na barai fasl, not in order to create the divide, right? So when a person is reciting, he's passionate about it. Bismillah. The sajda that this person does is far more better than the sajda that I'm doing. The way he connects to God is very different to the way I'm connecting. Perhaps his voice, his connection will have some mercy on me, and my du'as are accepted as well. Everybody should come and recite. Walau by mistake, ishkal nadare, there's no problem. It's all right. One have to be careful. It doesn't mean that it's all right, meaning that one should not try his level best to do it properly. Good, one have to try that. But if one cannot, one should not really reject. One should do it together, and there is more barakah and more blessing in it. It gives that diversity, that color. It makes it more beautiful. Sins that will not allow the rain to fall. Sins that will not allow the rain to fall. Now, once again, as we said, this could be rain in the sense of, purity, water, or it could be in that physical sense as well. Helping oppressors, bearing false witness. I remember there was a time that there was qahti, there was a drought in Qum. The Maraje were so adamant, and they were giving statements. They were kind of being very, they were having that microscopic sort of vision, eyes to the courts, to the Islamic courts. They were saying that be careful with false witnesses and hiding witness, person who doesn't really go and give witness. It will have a repercussion, it will have an effect. If a person gives a false shahada, it will affect the rain. Why we have drought? What is the reason? They were looking into these things. Are we carrying these things out? They were, checking these Islamic courts and what's going on there, trying to really come to the conclusion. Not giving zakat, for example. Not giving back loans. People take loan and they do not return, then it will bring about drought. Having hard-heartedness towards those who are needy. oppressing the orphans and widows will bring about drought. These are the sins that will bring about drought. Salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Another salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, as we are reaching and approaching the second wasiyat, which Hazrat Amir mentions here right after usikum bitaqwallah, after having that taqwa, he says that iqamus salat li waqtiha, perform the salat in its time. Brothers and sisters, as our Imam who became shaheed in salat, the Fajr prayer. So we, the followers of Imam, must be someone very adamant, very sort of caring for our prayers and for our salat. We have to protect our prayers. It shouldn't be the case that we have qaza. Fajr prayer, Amirul Mu'minin was killed in the Fajr prayer. And you know, these prayers in one of the hadiths are very symbolic. They say that the Zohar prayer is Siddiqa Kubra, apparently. Then the Asr is Imam Hassan alayhi salam. And the Maghrib is Amirul Mu'mineen, and Isha is the Prophet. But what I remember for sure in the hadith is the Fajr prayer is Imam Hussein. And that is the one which becomes shaheed the most. That is the prayer which is shaheed. And it is shaheed by the hands of Muslimin, by the hands of Mu'mineen. They invited Imam Hussein. The Shias, so to speak, if you want to say, right? But at the end of the day, they turned their back to Imam Hussein. They did not support him. Only few went there. So prayer, salat, amududdin, it is the pillar of our deen. It is the pillar of our religion. We have to really dedicate, we have to be very, very careful of our prayers. Now the Imam is saying, liwaqtiha, on its time, praying on time. Imam is in the state where he is breathing his last sort of few breaths left, but he is giving this wasiyat to his children. Usikum, usika bitaqwallah, and iqam as-salat li waqtiha, perform the salat on its time. Right? Usika ya bunayya bis salat inda waqtiha. Allah fi salat fa innaha khairul amal wa innaha amudud dinukum. As-salat la takhafu fillah lawmat al-laim wa alam anna kulla shay'in min ilmik taba'un lis-salatik faman dhay salata fa innaha li ghayriha ada. Know that all follows your salat. He is the Imam. Salat is the Imam. And all our actions, our other ibadat, they follow salat. If our salat is wasted, is gone, all of the other actions are wasted as well. If our salat is accepted in another hadith, other actions are accepted as well. And why not be the case? If you look at salat, have all of the amal in it. In salat, you have zakat. In salat, you have hajj. In salat, you have amar bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar. In salat, you have jihad. In salat, you have tawalla wa tabarra. All of the furu'id-din is in salat. When you are performing salat, each and every of the furu is in it. You are doing jihad of nafs when you are performing. You are doing amar bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar. You are doing tawalla wa tabarra when you are praying. You are doing hajj. Hajj is visiting Allah. As-salat mirajul mu'min. You are giving zakat of your time. You are purifying yourself while doing salat. So salat, our prayers have everything in it. And if our prayers are accepted, if we make our prayers right, other things will fall in its place. We talk about spirituality, we talk about, ma'arifat and irfan and all that. It is through salat. As-salat tanha anil fahsha wal munkar, right? Right? Salat is considered to be a protector of ours from corruption, from evil. If our salat is right, we will be protected. We will be immune from all other sort of evil. In a beautiful hadith, the Prophet have said that, Ya Abadar ja'alallahu jalla thana'uhu qarrata aini fi salat. Allah, O Abazar, salat is the light of my heart. The Prophet says. Just like the Prophet says that how a hungry person is attracted towards the food, towards the water. When he eats the food, he is satisfied. When he drinks the food, he is satisfied. But, O Abazar, when I pray salat, I'm not satisfied. I would like to pray more and more. That is the beauty of salat. That the ruh is never satisfied. And he says, when a person realizes by whom he is doing munajat, by whom he is really connecting, how can he leave salat? How can he leave salat? Right? And our Imam, Amirul Mu'mineen, was shaheed in salat. You know, some people tend to unfortunately joke, and I don't know it is real or not, but it is very sad that by being a Shia of Amirul Mu'mineen, that he doesn't, that a person doesn't pray. And he uses the reasons as that Hazrat Ali was killed in masjid, so I don't go to masjid. Na'uzubillah. Hazrat Ali was killed in salat, so I don't pray salat. These type of logic, these type of understanding, astaghfirullah. Imam Hussein was killed in sajda, so I will not. I am the follower, I am the lover of them, but I don't go to masjid, but I don't pray. Is he really a follower? Is he really a lover of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam? Where Hazrat Amir in his last wasiyat he's saying, he's asking his children, his followers, his lovers, that pray salat on time. On time. We are glued by the television, we are doing something else, we have to leave everything. We are driving, take a rest area, take the exit. Go there, pray. It doesn't take 2 rakat to perform. It doesn't take 5 minutes to perform it. And see the difference, the change that comes about in us. If I am busy, for example, in a amre wajib, maybe I'm a doctor performing a surgery, so on, at least at that hour I should have that intention that I am not being able to perform it on time. Inshallah, as soon as I finish, when I clean myself, I will go and perform it. That will be my priority. But right now, because I'm in the middle of an operation, I'm in the middle of a surgery, I'm in the middle of something, that I cannot really leave that. It will really cost me, for example, the reputation or whatever, then I have that intention that, okay, as soon as I finish that, that will be the first thing. That will be my priority. Having that intention is very important, and it really affects us. And he says that, Ya Hisham, afdalu ma yutaqarrabu bihi al-abd ila Allah ba'da ma'rifati bi as-salat. The first thing that will gives us proximity to God after the ma'rifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the salat. Then wa birrul walidain, and it is being good towards the parents. Wa tarkul hasad, and getting rid of envy, jealousy, animosity, right? Wal ujb wal fakhr, and the other thing that will bring us close is ujb, where a person doesn't see himself, and fakhr is basically being proud of oneself. These are the things that kind of brings a high. If we don't see ourselves, if we are not arrogant, if we are neck and good towards our parents, if we perform our prayers after marifat, these are the things that will bring us close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As we are approaching the Maghrib prayers, Zikr Musibat, and then we have Latmiya as well. See, Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam, once he was injured on the 19th night, he was brought home by his children, and he was in a state of unconsciousness, and he comes to consciousness, and then he inquires and he does wasiyat. The doctor was called, Tabib was called to see the effect of the wound. A cloth was tied to his head, and they say that the cloth had turned yellow, which resembled his skin color because of the effect of the poison. The poison, Ibn Muljim says that he has paid so much money and he bought the poison which was very expensive so that it affects. So as he had struck the forehead of head of Amirul Mu'mineen, it affected all of his body. And Hazrat Amir was in pain. And the children, for the children of Amirul Mu'mineen, for Hasanain, for Hazrat Zainab ibn Kulli, was very difficult to see his father in this state. And the companions, for them as well, it was very difficult to see Amirul Mu'mineen in this state. And the Tabib says that perhaps milk is something that is good for Hazrat Amir now. Now, they announce, the news spread that the milk is good. They say there was a line of widows and orphans with the vessels, with the glasses of milk in order to feed the father, in order to feed the caretaker. Such a personality. As they say that when a person reaches to the age of 80 or 70, at that time he will probably have some understanding of who Hazrat Ali was. Really, what sort of personality Hazrat Amir had. He is asking the widow by delivering the flour, why don't you cook? I will play with the children. What a personality. And at the same time, when we look at his mazlumiyat, how mazloom he was. Such a great man, but at the same time mazloom. That when Fatima asked that, "Oh Ali, why are you in this state? Are people not relating to you? Are people not engaging with you? Are people not asking about you?" Then Hazrat Amir replies that when I give them salam, they are not even replying salam to me. A man who have done so much for Islam, who have given everything for Islam, the ummah forgotten all of that right after the demise of the Prophet? What type of mazloom is this? What type of person is this, that he has done so much and he becomes so mazloom? And when he was given that opportunity to really be the Khalifa, how much they engage him in battle, in fitna, in fighting with each other. How much they really pay heed to his advices, to him, how much they helped him. This is how mazloom he was. And the companions gathered around the house and they were saying that, we want to be in the company of Hazrat Amir. There was one of the companion who wasn't leaving because Imam Hassan comes and he says to him that, "Why don't you leave? Because we don't want the cries of my sister reach out to the na-mahram." Because they were crying for the father. "We don't want that. Why don't you leave?" They all gathered near the house of Amirul Mu'mineen. But one would really strike an analogy, or one would strike that example, that what happened in the plain of Karbala. The cries of Zainab, the cries of Kulthum, and in the middle of those who were na-mahram, and also in that very Kufa itself, Zainab was brought in that Kufa without hijab. Zainab delivered sermons in that very Kufa itself. And here Hazrat Amir is caring about the hijab of her. He says, "Zainab, do not come outside. Ask my daughter not to come outside. It is not Karbala yet." Hazrat Amir was giving wasiyat to his children. He brought Imam Hassan near, he gave wasiyat. Imam Hussein, Hazrat Zainab. But Abul Fazl Abbas was standing at the door. He wasn't moving forward. Here, Amirul Mu'mineen calls, "Abbas, you come near me." When Abbas comes near, there's a special relationship of Ali and Abbas. When Abbas was little, Ali was teaching him numbers. Ali said, say Wahid. Abbas says Wahid. Ali says, say Ithnain. And Abbas says a mouth that utters Wahid, one, it doesn't look good to utter two. Pointing out to that Wahdaniyat. Pointing out to that Tawheed. Here, Amirul Mu'minin kissed Abul Fazl Abbas. And here Abul Fazl Abbas was called by Ali. Here Ali says to Abbas, O Abbas, while kissing the hands of Abbas, says, make me proud on the day of judgment. You are my son, and Hussein is the son of Zahra. You will be asked to fetch water for Hussein. You should make me proud. And that's what it happened. When Abbas went to that Furat, he puts the water skin, the skin in the water, takes the water, and also takes the water in his hand, and he looks at that water and he leaves it. He wants to make Amirul Mu'minin proud on the day of judgment. That is why it says that on the day of judgment, Fatima will appear. Fatima will appear with what? With the hands of Abbas, and wants the judgment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why the hands of Abbas was slain. Allah la'natullah ala qawm az-zalimin. Sayalamu alladhina zalamu ayyi munqalibin yanqalibun. Ali Mawla. Ali Mawla. Ali Mawla. Ali Mawla.